Hello everybody, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. I realize I will probably have some new viewers here because I'm leaving my little realm of thrifted clothing hauls that I've been stuck in for like 2 months, and I'm actually talking about reselling in general. So for those of you who are new here, I am a full-time reseller. My name is Riley. You may know me as Honey Rags, you may not. I have been reselling since 2016. I resell anything and everything on Poshmark, Etsy, and eBay. The first year and a half of reselling, I kind of did it part-time. I did it for fun, but also for like disposable income. However, you know, that has shifted into something that I can rely on as a source of income equivalent to what I would be making, you know, working full-time 9 to 5 at a desk job. So, I always think it's weird in the reseller community, even though I do the same thing. When people say, you know, I'm a full-time reseller, part-time reseller, I understand what they mean, but you can put 10 hours a week into reselling and make just as much as somebody who's putting 40 hours a week into it. If you are in a good area, if you have extensive knowledge, it all depends on what you sell. So before I get into what I want to talk about today, I do want to say I've gone down many different avenues of reselling, from retail arbitrage to Amazon customer return pallets to liquidation auctions and trying to sell antiques and collectibles exclusively, to reselling thrifted clothing and vintage clothing. And I always gravitate back towards, well, I don't think I've ever really shifted completely away from reselling name brand used clothing and vintage clothing. But yeah, that's where I always gravitate to. So that's my main source of income because it works for me right now. I'm comfortable in it and I am working from home. I'm not working out of a warehouse. So, you know, bringing in a bunch of Amazon pallets like weekly is not feasible considering the space that I'm working with. Why is this important? Because reseller seems like it's a really cut and dry word. You know, I'm a reseller, but someone who resells Amazon pallets from a warehouse is not going to relate to all of the problems that someone reselling used clothing exclusively, you know, relates to. It's almost a completely different type of job. You know, you're sourcing differently, you're packaging things differently, you're advertising things differently, your knowledge is in a certain area. So anyway, what am I, 2 minutes into the video and I've already started ranting? I told myself I gotta stop with like the intros that I gotta stop with those intros where I just keep blending into another subject and then I forget what I'm even doing a video about because I just start ranting. Anyway, so yeah, this isn't, why is that important at all, but I just said because what I'm going to be talking about today stems from reselling thrifted vintage and name brand clothing. So keep that in mind. Reselling is not what you think it is. As you can tell by the title of this video, I don't want people to think I just sit behind a camera all day and complain about my job because I love what I do. I don't want this to just be like a shower of disappointing news to someone who's thinking about reselling and like, yeah, maybe I'm not going to do this. Like, I don't want to scare anyone away. But as you guys know, through social media, you know, people mainly post motivational, positive things. They post their success. There are a lot of people on Instagram, in the Instagram reseller community, who post the ups and downs of reselling, but the majority of users, including myself, we will post, you know, the piles of packages that we have going to be shipped out, the, you know, tons of trips to Goodwill that we take, and we're finding all this great stuff. But there is another side of it, and I feel like some people who may get into reselling are under like a false expectation of what it's going to be because of social media, because of Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and even people like myself. So just going to put a little dollop of reality into it. I made a little bullet point list of things that I wanted to talk about and why reselling is not what you may think it is. So the first thing that I want to start off with is my income does not come from big flips, big flip after big flip. People who resell cars, their income for 6 months could potentially come from one car that they, you know, fixed up and resold. Even if you're doing like someone who resells like designer handbags, you could get, you know, one big ticket item that's going to pay for your monthly mortgage, whatever. My income does not come from big ticket items. my income mainly comes from $20, $25, $18, $37 sales that add up, and I have dozens a day. Now, would I rather have, my incomes come from big ticket items? Yeah, because I would be putting in less work as far as I wouldn't have to photograph and process and ship out 100 things. I could just do one thing and make the same amount of money, but I'm not in the area, I'm not anywhere near an area where I'd either be able to do that or it's not going to happen. So don't have this false expectation that every time, or at least once a week even, that you're going to go and you're going to find like a $500 piece at the thrift store or the Goodwill bins, and that's going to be your income. It's a lot more than that. It is constant processing of inventory, almost daily for me. I had to invest real money and even lose some money in the beginning. The first year of reselling, I was investing a lot of money into it because I hit the ground running, which some people say don't do that. Some people say do it. My fiance has been reselling for over a decade, so I felt comfortable hitting the ground running with reselling. Building up inventory took me a while, and because I was, spending so much on it, the sales do start coming in, but you're not going to hit like that sweet spot, that middle ground, until 6 months, a year and a half. Even some people, it takes longer before you hit that middle ground where you're actually making more money, substantially more than what you're investing into it. So don't think, don't go quitting your job thinking I'm going to go to Goodwill tomorrow and I'm going to find $500 worth of stuff and I'm going to sell it, because for one, that stuff's those sales are going to come in over time. You may find $500 worth of items, but they're not all going to sell within a week, nor are you going to get all that money within a week. So, it does take a while to build up that inventory. You will have to invest money into it. Whether it be an Amazon pallet that you get for $200 and you slowly sell it over the course of a month, if that's how you want to start, and see, how much you make and calculate it from there, whatever. But you do have to invest real money into it, unless you're someone who, I'm trying to think of like people who get their inventory for free. I guess there are people who could potentially get inventory for free, through like Facebook Marketplace and like estate sales that are closing and stuff, but I don't know. Anyway, just remember, take this with a grain of salt, guys. This is my experience. You could say this for any job, but reselling gets repetitive. A lot of people think you just get to go thrifting all day and you're constantly finding new stuff, so it's always fun and exciting. And I mean, speaking from personal experience, it is repetitive. It is not any less repetitive than going to a 9-to-5 desk job every day and having to type up the same document. Because if you have to list 70 pairs of denim blue jeans in 20 minutes, that's not possible, but you get the point. There is no fun in that, okay? It's not. That is repetitive, and it gets, I mean, sometimes I am just slagging at the end of the day, like, maybe I should just go work at a car wash. I love what I do, but it does get repetitive. Speaking of repetitive, even sourcing, after you've been doing it as long as I have, my favorite part of my job, and I can almost guarantee most resellers are going to say the same thing, is the thrill of the hunt. The thrill of sourcing, the thrill of going to estate sales or thrift stores and finding your inventory. That is the best part. However, to be honest, only about the first 15 to 20 minutes of me walking into a thrift store do I get that like really fun, like sourcing high, if that makes sense. After that, I'm literally just flipping through things because I know I have to, because I know I have to find things that are going to, bring in the money. And what sucks is when I was doing this part-time, I wasn't under pressure to find inventory, because I was making an income from it part-time, but a lot of it was, just disposable. Oh, I'm making money and I'm doing something that I enjoy. But when you actually start to rely on that income, I've gotten a new car. I upgraded my car insurance. I upgrade the house, put things on credit cards. and then you start to rely on that income, then you're no longer thrifting because it's fun. You're thrifting because you have to find things that you can make money off of. So then you start to get like a weird mixture of like pressure because you know you have to do it, and the fact that you've been to the same thrift shop 7 times in 3 days type thing. You know what I mean? Which, that's an exaggeration. I don't ever do that, but it does. I do sometimes lose motivation to source, and I feel like I'm forcing myself to go to their thrift shop to find things. As crazy as it may sound, because on one end, thrifting is my favorite hobby, is my favorite thing to do, and on the other hand, sometimes I'm forcing myself to do it. So I took something that I love to do, mixed it with my job and a full-time income, and it's like in this weird like limbo area of like, I'm either going to wake up and I really want to go, or I'm going to wake up and I don't want to go, but I know I have to, if that makes sense. Basically, what I'm just trying to say is after 4 years of doing this, yeah, you do lose the spark a little bit. It's just because I'm in a funk, and it'll last like a week, 2 weeks, sometimes a month, but it's usually a funk, a reseller funk, I call it. But those are real, just like with any other job. Reselling is no different. Unlike some other jobs, the money you bring in isn't always a direct reflection of how much work you put into it. So sometimes I can put in a lot, like I can just, until 2 in the morning, I'm, catching up on listing and stuff. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm having average sales when I'm like, I've been working my ass off, my arse. Can you say, okay, I'm going to say arse because I have no idea about YouTube's weird guidelines and when they're going to flag your channel or not, but I'm sure ass wouldn't be a reason to. But no, seriously, there are times when I put so much work into it and I don't see a reflection in my sales. And then sometimes I can just sit on my arse all day, not doing anything, and I'm having a great sales week. And there's, there is no reseller formula about time and how much you're getting out of your time. I can never say, I put 23 hours into reselling this week, so I'm going to make, that much. There's no formula. It doesn't matter. It's always going to fluctuate. Obviously, you want to keep it consistent regardless, but don't get down on yourself if you have like 3 to 4 weeks of putting in a lot more time than usual into reselling and you're not seeing a reflection of that. Sometimes the reflection of that will come 6 months later. It's really weird. It's crazy, right? How the internet works and how sales work. Another thing about the time you put into it, unfortunately, some people are going to put a lot less time into reselling and they're going to make a lot more than you based on how much they're paying for their inventory, based on where they live. I know a lot of people on my Instagram who just live in a very dry area to source, and no matter how much time they put into it, they cannot compete with someone who lives in a really good area for sourcing and thrifting, if that makes sense. I gotta stop saying if that makes sense. Another thing is it's constant adjusting your reseller strategy. It is really, really, really hard, if not impossible, to get comfortable reselling. I'm comfortable with what I resell, but the brands that sell come and go. The styles that sell come and go, as well as the seasons. People talk about the summer slowdown. Don't expect to quit your job, get knee deep into reselling, and have the same strategy for 5 years. It's probably not ever going to work like that. You're going to constantly have to adjust to the consumer. But you're not working for a company who has a marketing team that's already doing that. You are the marketing team. You are everything in one body. So you are going to constantly have to adjust and fluctuate and try different avenues and whatever. Just expect for that to happen. This one isn't actually like, reselling isn't what you think it is, because it's more of a tip. 1 week you can bring in $3,800 in net profit. And the next week you can put the same amount of effort into your job and business and only bring in $260 net profit. So don't adjust your lifestyle, or don't overextend yourself with expenses just because you're having, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of really good sales. Because I've made that mistake where I've gone like last year around November, December, I was making, I'm not trying to brag, but I was making so much that I was like, oh my God, I have like all this disposable money. I can go get a second car. I can upgrade all the TVs in the house. Let's get the bathroom redone because I'm making all this money. Don't adjust your lifestyle too quickly. Unlike a normal, you know, a normal job where you get a raise, that raise is gonna stick. You know, when you're reselling, you don't get raises. Your income's gonna go up, but there's always gonna be a time when it starts to go back down. It'll probably go back up again. It always does. I don't want to scare you guys. You're not gonna hit like a plateau and then go down and you're never gonna be able to get back up there. Just don't adjust your lifestyle or expenses just because you're having, I would say even if you're having 6 months of great sales, I wouldn't go get out like another car loan because you're having 6 months of good sales. Really gradually adjust how much you're making, because when I first started reselling full-time, I was very conservative with where my money was going, and I was trying to put all of the net profit that I was making right back into my business. And then I got to a point where I was like, I saw this disposable income and it was great. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I still do have that, but I hold on to it. I'm smarter with it because I know, you know, 3 months from now, my sales may drop again. So I want to have that money, you know, sitting in my account. Was that more of like financial advice? I feel like that could go for anybody, but reselling, what you're making is constantly going to fluctuate. Now, obviously, is it always going to fluctuate between $3,800 versus $260 the next week? No, it's not, but that can happen. Momo, honey, that's my video.
No, that would be goldfish.
We don't have it anymore, so you either have these or nothing. Well, then I'm gonna eat them because I like the goldfish. I'm not giving more fruit snacks.
I want to do fruit now.
There is no magic reseller formula. Okay, there's no, you know, exact formula that if you do this and this and this and you list 7 things on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and every other Thursday on a full moon, you're gonna get this much back. Like nobody says that. How do I put this without, okay. I'm sure a lot of people who are in the reseller community have seen resellers who want to sell courses on reselling, which is great. I have nothing against that. Honestly, if you want to get into reselling and there's someone who is selling a course, I think that's probably a great idea. If you have the money and time to invest in like a quick reselling course, if they're giving you guys like strategies and tips and like what I do with my videos when I'm giving you guys tips, nothing wrong with that. However, there is no magic reseller formula. So, you know, I've seen, I don't even know how to put it into words. I've seen posts where people are saying, you know, if you list Monday, Tuesday, and Friday between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. and it's a full moon and you list 7 items every other Thursday at 2 o'clock, you're going to get this much back. Obviously not that specific at all, but you know, there are people who try to sell this idea that if you have like this formula, reselling is going to work for you. There are way too many different factors to even try to put some type of reseller formula together. It's just not going to happen. I've tried the exact same thing. I've tried listing, you know, 10 items a day, 5 days a week. And then I've tried listing, you know, 30 items 1 day a week and then not listing for, you know, whatever. There's no formula. There's strategies, but there's not a magic reseller formula. So keep that in mind if you are someone who wants to dip your toes in reselling, or even if reselling hasn't gone well for you so far and you're looking for another answer, there's not going to be a magic formula. So do not let somebody sell you some reseller formula, because there's too many different factors for that to actually be possible. The last thing that I wanted to bring up before I end the video, I'm eating goldfish crackers. I actually started the video off with a McDonald's holiday pie because I can't go more than an hour without putting food into my mouth. The last thing I wanted to get to is a lot of people like the idea of reselling because, you know, if that becomes their full-time job, they don't have to go in 9 to 5. They have nobody to report to. They don't have to apply for time off or apply for vacation. They can just, and this is true, reselling, of course you can. Anytime basically that you work for yourself, you can do this. You can just put your Poshmark closet on vacation, put your eBay store on vacation, drop what you're doing and go on vacation. And when you come back, you turn it all on again and there's your job. You don't have to go through anybody. You don't have to ask your boss. You know, that's true. I mean, I go to, before the pandemic, we were going to California and Arizona once a year. You know, it was nice that I didn't have to apply for time off or be under pressure to find someone to replace me for those hours. However, when you come back, you have to make up for that week, 2 weeks that you took off, like tenfold. Normally, at least at the jobs that I've worked at, when you take time off or you take vacation, they fill you in with somebody who will get that work done for you. So you get back and you may have some things personally to catch up on, but for the most part, you're good. Reselling, you take 2 weeks off. If you're in this full-time, obviously if you're just doing this part-time, it's disposable income, you can live without it. But if you're doing it full-time, you take those 2 weeks off, you're gonna have to make up for it like tenfold for the next month. It's hard to explain. I really don't know the reasoning or like the logic behind it. But yeah, every time I've been, since I started reselling full-time, relying on the income, every time I've gone somewhere or taken like a week off, if I don't make up for it within the next 2 weeks of being home, I will see the repercussions of that 2 week break like a month after the fact that it happens. And I don't know why that is. But you know, don't be under the impression that you're just going to be able to resell full-time and that's your income and you can up and leave and go on vacation whenever you want. Because I guess technically you could, but you are going to have a lot of making up to do. So I think that's the last thing. Every time I do a video like this, there's 17,000 things that I think of as soon as I hit the stop recording button. But I do want to hear from you guys. I always do read my YouTube comments, whether or not I can reply to every single one. It gets really hard. I even get drowned out in my eBay and Poshmark notifications, which those are, you know, potential customers, so I have to respond to them like right away. Sometimes I fall behind on YouTube, but I promise you guys I do read the comments. So I'd like to hear from you guys, whether you've been reselling for 10 years or 1 year, in what way is reselling not really what you expected it to be when you first started doing it? Just because I'm nosy and because I'm sure it'll help other viewers if you guys want to go read the comments down below. I'm going to end this video here. I feel like I've been talking for an hour and a half. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'm going to leave a link down below in the description to my Instagram, which I post to multiple times a week. It's completely reseller related, honey.rags on Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Happy selling, happy thrifting, and stay safe.